Alright, today we're also making a video about ABS, how it works. Unfortunately, I didn't grab a couple of the other components from work that were from vehicles I had problems with, the ABS, but they're still pretty self-explanatory. Alright, now every vehicle has wheel bearings, and most newer cars have what's called a hub bearing. It acts as the hub where you mount your tire and the wheel bearing. Now a lot of them incorporate an ABS sensor into that bearing, which is a 2-wire sensor, and particularly on GMs, the ABS sensor and the little toothed wheel that goes along with that sensor so it can read the wheel speed is attached internally in that wheel bearing. Now some of the Chryslers and Fords have them set up differently, where you have an external sensor on the outside mounted on the back of the spindle, and you have a toothed wheel either mounted on the CV shaft, which is the axle shaft, or it's mounted under the back of the rotor like on some 2-wheel drive Ford trucks. And the next main component, aside from wiring, is this right here. This is off of a 2002 Pontiac Aztek. This module is bad. Now the big metal part right here, this is the hydraulic control unit, and this black piece over here, this is the EBCM, also known as electronic brake control module. And if you take it apart, you'll notice there is nothing really particular about it. Now these right here, these are basically electromagnets that actuate these rods sticking up right here. And on every ABS system, they work pretty similar to the same way. You have a hold valve and a dump valve. Now what the hold valve does during an ABS stop, if it sees the wheels are close to locking up, it will hold the line pressure in there. It'll actuate the hold valve. And if the wheel starts to lock up while it's holding the pressure in there, it'll actuate the dump valve, which is one of these. You have a hold valve and a dump valve for each wheel. And now they always say ABS systems are under high pressure, which is very true. They use an electrical pump, which is controlled by the EBCM. Now as far as EBCM, there's not really much you can go into and tear apart on these things, but I did have an extra one from that same vehicle that was also junk. You know, that customer wanted to use junkyard parts, and while I was strongly advised against it, we have to take the customer's interest at hand, so we used junkyard parts, and they were wrong. The parts were bad. Now these two first pieces here, these are the original pieces off the vehicle. But your pump motor plugs into this connector right here. What happens is when during ABS stops, that pump will kick, the EBCM will tell the pump to kick on, supplies the power and the ground through this connector. And on this end, I don't know if you can see it that well, let me try zooming in on it. This is where all the different sensors for the ABS system come in, or they get feedback out of. There are these 4 terminals right here. These supply power and ground to the ABS, to the module itself, which supplies the power and ground to the motor when needed, and it also provides feedback to the various other computer systems on a car. But what I've done for it is, since I had a spare EBCM, see, I pulled the covers off, there's not much to see inside of it. You've just got a few little contacts in here. Again, you've got your electromagnets, but what I actually did was I took one out. This is basically what it looks like. Just 2 wires going to it. It gets the voltage from the EBCM to actuate either the hold valve or the dump valve. And I also took apart that little cover right over there. As you can see, some various little micro circuits and circuit boards in there. Really not a whole lot to see. It's actually kind of impressive that something as small as those parts right there can be responsible for every aspect of the braking on your vehicle, during an ABS stop. Now, some of those Pontiac Aztecs have traction control, which works through the ABS and the throttle and multiple other vehicle systems. This one didn't have traction control, didn't have stability, anything like that. It's just a bare bones basic ABS system on that Pontiac Aztec. What happens is, as you're driving down the road, your wheel speed sensors produce an AC voltage, and they will get fed into one of these, these terminals here. There's 2 terminals for each wheel speed sensor. And now if you want to test them, we'll go on that in another part of this. But they get fed into here. This tells the, this knows what your wheel speeds are. Your engine control computer knows what the wheel speeds are. And your transmission control computer knows what the wheel speeds are, because this communicates that information to them. And as before, if it sees a wheel speed that's different than the other, its first step is to determine if you are applying the brakes or not. And if you're applying the brakes, then and one wheel speed is significantly different than the other, it's either going to throw on your ABS light, or it will try and initiate an ABS stop to eliminate that wheel from locking up. So that's basics. That's pretty much basics of all I can tell you about how it works, because I am by no means an engineer for GM or any other manufacturer working on this stuff. I'm simply a master certified auto mechanic who I can diagnose it, I can repair it, but it's very complicated to explain how it works, and I don't believe there's enough time on YouTube to explain it all. So now you've got the basics down of how it works and what it does, and in the next part of this I'm going to tell you how to diagnose it.